That's a deal, right?
What's up, guys? We are back with another race video from the Mac race series down in Rock Hill, South Carolina. If you missed last week's video, I actually ended up winning the race that was 2 weeks ago in the Cat 4-5 race, and so I'm coming back to try to defend the win, I guess, and see if I can win again. And so here we are, right? This is the 4-5 race. We're just getting started, and one thing that I want to talk about before we get into this race is there seemed to be a lot more people that showed up on the start line today than there were the previous race. I would say there's probably 15 more people that were on the starting line, and it also seemed like there were a lot more teams that were out and about for the race today. So, I didn't really know what to expect because, like I said, the field was bigger today. There was more teams coming out, and it just seemed like, there were a couple more heavy hitters, if you will, in the field today. So for today's race, we're actually going the opposite way of the way we went the first race that I did. So this is the actual correct way to do the course. So the first race I did, we were doing it in reverse, and today we're doing it the correct way. And so right here is a big uphill that brings you up to the start finish line. And so, like I said last week, the course is really broken into two parts, right? There's a big downhill from the start line all the way downhill to the halfway point of the course. And then right here until the finish line is basically all uphill. I would say the course is a little tougher, in my opinion, this way than the opposite way, because the uphill is a lot steeper coming this way, but because of that, it's a little shorter, so I guess you could take that for what it is. So just breaking down the strategy for today's race. Me, my buddy Blake, and my buddy Ryan. If you remember last week, Ryan was one of the guys that was in the breakaway with me. Him, and Blake had kind of formulated a strategy where we wanted to try to make a breakaway happen, the three of us, basically, kind of like on our own little team, even though we weren't on a team at all. So we kind of decided, all right, let's try to get in a breakaway, all three of us together, and work together to try to stay away and see what we can do, right? That's all we can do, is we can just try to break away and see if it works. And so that was kind of the strategy in the back of our heads, was if one of us three breaks off the front, make sure that we're on there with them so that we can try to break away. And, we'll see what happens basically from there. And since the breakaway in the last race succeeded for 10 laps or so, I was like, all right, we could probably do that again. We could probably get in a breakaway and just get away from everyone else and see if we can stay away for the whole race. And I'll say right now, no breakaways were working today. No breakaways at all were working. So it's interesting how this race kind of shaped up to be a lot different than the first race, because as you'll see as we go along, we try to break away a couple times and it just gets caught instantly, basically, every time. So no breakaways are happening. It was kind of just frustrating, but at the same time, that's racing. And so it was interesting to have a little bit of a different dynamic to this race than what happened last week, where we broke away, it stuck, and then we just rode for 10 laps or so, just staying away from the group. So as we're coming around lap 2 here, I'm just kind of sitting in riding wheels, not trying to do too much. The race is still super early. And obviously, if we try to break away now, it's gonna be a long time battling to try to stay away. So we're just kind of chilling, waiting for something to happen. Kind of letting other people take the first move, if you will. And so nothing too serious has really happened for the first few laps, which is kind of how I think most races start. Most races are just, you sit around until someone makes that first move, and then it's, then the race is on. And so as we approach the uphill, Blake, he is right in front of me. This is the guy that, we had talked about trying to get in a breakaway together, me, him, and Ryan. And so Blake starts attacking right here, up the uphill. and I'm right on his wheel. And I'm just thinking, all right, let's go. And so we're pushing hard, right? You see, we're in the 900s, 800 watts, coming up this hill. And, 27, 26 miles an hour up this hill is pretty fast. I will say, most of the time we're coming up this hill like 19 or 20. So we're pushing hard. And then right here, boom, I clipped my pedal on the ground. Yeah. Clipped my pedal on the floor. It was really sketchy. It could have been a lot worse than what it was, right? I just clipped it and somehow just kept going. You can hear me yelling out right there. I clipped my pedal. So yeah, that could have been a lot worse than what it was. I was grateful for, just scraping it, and I was able to just keep going. But I could have easily seen myself like sliding out and taking a digger right there. So I was lucky that nothing happened too serious. But I'm on the front. We're trying to break away from the pack. Blake is right on my wheel. I think Ryan is right behind me too. I wish I had a back camera so we could see, what's going on behind us. But I'm on the front, and then we see Ryan come over, take the front, and I'm right on his wheel. And right now we got a little bit of a gap from the group. So, we're trying to stay away. We're pushing hard, going 28 or so. But unfortunately, the brake does not succeed. We get caught. And that's pretty much the theme of the race until like the last few laps, right? We're trying a bunch of breakaways. Other people are trying a bunch of breakaways. None of them are sticking. Everyone's getting caught. And so as we come up this hill, I kind of call it out. I'm like, we got caught, boys. They're right on our tail. Like, let's chill out for a little bit, because there's no point in pushing that hard if the group's right on your tail. You're already caught. Might as well just chill out and get back into the main group and try to recover for whatever's coming next. Like I said, I fall back into formation. I just kind of get back behind some wheels, and I'm trying to just save energy for the rest of the race. And so at this point, I kind of realized like today, a breakaway is probably not going to stick. And so it'd be wise of me to just sit behind wheels and try to save as much energy as I can for the end of the race, so that I can hopefully, have a sprint finish, or, try to break away myself maybe on lap, like 2 laps to go or 1 lap to go or something like that. So I kind of switch gears in my head and kind of think, all right, instead of trying to make these huge attacks and try to get broken away from the group, I'm just going to sit in and just kind of see what happens, right? Let other people make the moves and then react to those as they come. But ultimately try to save as much energy as I can, like I said, for the end of the race. And that's ultimately what happens, for the rest of the meat of the race, right? I'm just sitting in, trying to recover, but also responding to anything that goes up the road. Just making sure that I'm in good position for the end of the race. So it was kind of honestly pretty tiring responding to all the attacks and trying to stay on the front of the race for the whole race. I was gassed by the end, to be honest. So right here we see a pretty good attack put on by 2 teammates, and they attack right on the downhill portion of the course. And in the back of my head, I kind of thought, all right, well, they're attacking on the downhill. We're just going to catch them on the uphill, because the race slows down so much on the uphill. If you push it, a little hard, it's easy to catch up to guys, because, like I said, that uphill is pretty steep, and if you blow your legs up on this downhill, you got nothing for the uphill. So it's easy to reel in those attacks on the uphill because you slow down so much. So if you're in the draft into that uphill, you'll have plenty of legs to get back up that uphill and back on the wheel of whoever is attacking, unless they have the legs to get up that hill really fast, which is tough, right? Because like I said, you just pushed it hard down that downhill, you're not going to have much for that uphill. And so as you can see, right, that's exactly what happens. We get right back on their wheels on the top of this uphill, and that attack didn't stick at all. And it was interesting too because the group was so like ready for us to attack, right? Anytime that me or Ryan would try to attack, the whole group would like freak out and call it out, right? They'd be like, he's attacking, going, going. Right here you can hear it actually. Ryan tries to attack and it gets shut down real quick. See, he barely tries to go and it gets called out. He just, just shut down real fast. So basically, for the next 10 or 12 laps or so, it just kind of goes that way, right? Some people try to get off the front. It gets reeled back in. The group brings them back and, no attacks. They're sticking. And so we just ride around in, somewhat of a group for the rest of the 10 laps or so. I'm just doing my best to try to stay on the front, honestly, through these next 10 laps or so, and then see what happens coming into those last few laps. And so as we go through these laps, I kind of am trying to formulate a strategy in my head of like, all right, how am I going to set myself up for the best possible way to win this race? And I decided that I was going to try to attack solo and ride solo to the finish. But the way I was going to do that was I wasn't going to attack on the downhill, because I figured, just like what had happened earlier in the race, it would just get caught on the uphill, because like I said, your legs are smoked by the time you get to that uphill, and you got to be a strong rider to get through that uphill, and stay away from the group that's right behind you. So instead of that, I decided I was going to attack right as we approached the start-finish line on the flat, and get away before the downhill, and then just try to push it as hard as I can through that lap and see what happens, right? So ultimately what I decide is I'm going to attack on the second to last lap and just give that lap all I can, right? Second to last lap, I'm going to give it all I can. And then hopefully for the last lap, I'm, far enough out there that I can cruise to the finish. I don't know. That's what I was thinking. So here we come, 2 laps to go. We're coming around the top of the uphill. And so in my head, like I said, I'm going to attack on the flats section that is right where the start finish line is. And so right now we're in a single file pace line. And I'm thinking, all right, as soon as we come around this turn right here, I'm going to attack up the inside and just give it all I can. And so we're taking this turn, and they all stay on the inside of the turn, so I'm unable to get through. And right here in my head, I'm like, all right, as soon as I get an opening, I'm going for it. And so you see they start going to the left. There's an opening. I push it, boom, up to 1,000 watts, and I'm off. There's my attack right here. 2 laps to go. I'm attacking, and I'm off the front solo. And I'm going to hold this for the remainder of basically this whole lap, and just give it all I can, right? I get down on the drops. I get down like forearms on the handlebars, just trying to get as low as possible, and I'm just giving it all I can, right? 500, 400 watts, coming down this downhill, and just basically selling my soul to, try to stay away, because no breakaway had worked all race. So I was like, if I'm gonna get away, I gotta give it everything I have. Full gas, no slowing up. And so that's what I do. So we come into the uphill. I'm still trying to give it everything I can. I'm still pushing pretty good power, 500, 400 watts. And I've been doing that since the start of this lap, so pretty long time. So I guess I'll take it, I'm giving it all I can. But ultimately, as we come around this big hairpin turn, I get caught. But the best part is I get caught by Ryan and Blake. So it's the 2 guys that I wanted to attack with anyways. And you can hear Blake yelling at me to get on his wheel. To stay with them, and he's just motivated me to keep pushing. And honestly, I shout out to Blake for that, because if he wasn't yelling at me to get on his wheel, I probably would have given up right there. I was toast, man. I was so gassed. But you know, he's like, get on the wheel, get on the wheel. So I'm like, all right, I'm getting on his wheel no matter what. I'm just gonna sell out and keep pushing as hard as I can to try to catch these two guys because they're up the road a little bit. And so that's my main goal. And you can't see it, but there's actually one other guy on my wheel, you know, just getting a free ride behind me. And it would have been nice if he would have came around and let me, you know, draft off him, but that's just smart racing on him, right? He's getting a free ride right now by me up to these two. And so I'm just putting in all the work to try to catch these guys while he's sitting back there getting a free ride. Kind of annoying in my head, but you know, at the same time, that's really smart racing, so you can't be mad about it. You know, he's doing exactly what he should be, and if I was in his position, I would probably be doing the same thing. And you hear me yelling, I'm just dying. Honestly, just so cooked right now. But it's the last lap. It doesn't matter. Like, you got to give it all you can right here because it's the last lap. And after this, it's done, and you don't want to, you know, leave anything out there on the course. You wanna you know, give it all you can. So Blake flicks his elbow. He's ready for me to come around for a pull, and so on the uphill I come around for a pull. But like I said, boys, I am just like bleeding out of my eyeballs, just so gassed. Like my legs are toast. And so Ryan comes around. I'm just thinking, stay on his wheel. You know, stay with these guys because the group honestly was not that far behind us, like the main group of everyone. So I was thinking, you know, you got to stay with these three because if you don't, you're going to get caught by the main group. And so you start hearing the guy behind me yelling like, go, go, go. And I get kind of mad, honestly. I was like, dude, come on. Like you haven't pulled at all and it's your turn. So I yell at him. You can hear me right here.
Go. Yo, get up front, get up front. You haven't gotten front at all, go.
So I'm like, get on front, get on front. You know, he hasn't pulled at all. I tell him to get on front. He gets on front for 3 seconds and then already is flicking the elbow for someone else to come through. I don't know if he was like super gassed or if he was just like, you know, the finish line's right there, I shouldn't be on front. But he flicks the elbow and ultimately it means that I'm back on front. So we come around the last turn. And what happened was Blake actually came into that last turn a little wide and wasn't able to make the turn. So he ultimately ended up riding off into the weeds on accident. You know, it was no one's fault. It was just, you know, what happened. But he ends up riding into the grass. So now it's just me, Ryan, and this other guy in the blue. Ryan comes around and I am just giving it all I can, trying to catch him and barely don't catch him, right? I run out of room. Ryan takes first. I take second. The Asian guy, you know, the guy in the blue that was behind me takes third. But man, those last 2 laps, I was just dying. You can see me right here. I pull over and I honestly pulled over because I thought I was going to throw up and I didn't want to do that while riding. So I pull over and just full on dying. Full on dying. So I gave it all I could, boys. And yeah, so there it is. Ended up finishing second today. Didn't come back with the win, but that's okay, right? Because, you know, Ryan is a really strong rider. I knew he was going to finish up there in the top 3 or so, and to come out second is you know, I'm happy with it. Another great race. Honestly, I thought this one was a lot harder than the first one, probably because I was, you know, either making attacks or trying to chase down attacks basically the whole race. And then those last 2 laps, boys, man, they killed me. Thanks for putting on the race, Mac. Appreciate it. We'll be back for round 4.
Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride